What's up everyone, it's Blue here at Blue Bears Games, and for this video I will be unboxing the second of the 5 March of the Machine Commander precons called Cavalry Charge. This precon is black, blue, and white, also known as Esper, and suggests using Sardar Jabari of Zhalfir as its main commander. Just like last week's precon, this one contains cards from the Plane Chase mechanic. I won't be going too much into the mechanic, but if you want to learn more about it, you can look it up on the Wizards website. So let's talk about this precon. I'll start by telling you what Sardar Jabari does. Sardar Jabari is 4 mana to cast for a 4/3 legendary human knight with a whopping 4 abilities. The first is an Eminence ability, which usually tend to be quite powerful. However, this one, while useful, is quite tame. It states that whenever you attack with one or more knights, if Sardar Jabari of Zhalfir is in the command zone or on the battlefield, draw a card, then discard a card. Yes, it's a useful ability, but it's nowhere near the same level as the Dragon or Edgar Markov. That's not a bad thing though, since those two cards have pretty game-altering Eminence abilities, and I'm glad to see that it was toned down just a little bit. The next two abilities are Flying and First Strike, which are both just simple yet useful keyword abilities for any creature. And finally, the last ability states that whenever Sardar Jabari deals combat damage to a player, return target knight creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Right off the bat, it's obvious that this is a Knight Tribal/Typal themed deck. As a person who has made this type of deck as one of the Commander precons that I make and sell, I'm both okay and not okay with this one. I'm okay with it because it's a fun deck to pilot and is great for beginner to intermediate players to learn with, but I'm not okay with it because it sort of knocks that out as a possible option to make and sell as a precon anymore in the future. It is what it is though, and it just forces me to come up with new ideas, which I'm working on as you watch this. So before I rip this bad boy open, I want to take a moment to let you know that if you're in the market for a new awesome looking deck box, playmat, or sleeves, please visit our sponsor at www.arcane-fortress.com and take a look at what they have. The deck boxes are some of the best I've ever used, and you can even get an additional 5% off your purchase if you use discount code BLUEBEAR at checkout. Now, let's get to it and see what's in the box. So here's what we got for the box. It says Cavalry Charge on the side here. Here are the 3 colors. This is the commander that I told you about a little earlier. And then this is what's on the back of the box. None of this is really that important. All that matters is what's inside the box. So let's go ahead and rip it open. No more ripcords. Kind of disappointed in that. I kind of like the ripcord sound. Let's take everything out and see. Alright. So, Plane Chase cards. The deck. The insert. Life counter, and then the box that the deck is supposed to go in. And then, of course, we have this, which has, again, the disappointing smaller dividers, if you will. Got the +1/+1 counters on sides in the back, or I'm sorry, sides in the top. And then, yay, 2 more of these useless things that I have no idea what to do with yet. Again, if anybody has any ideas, let me know. We got the deck box itself. Again, I'm glad that they went back to these boxes, so 1 step forward, 2 steps back as far as what's in the box, because the dividers would have been nice if they were full size, but at least the box is a good one. I like these boxes because they actually hold the deck without the tops being all messed up and, held together. Generic life counter, always nice, a life wheel, whatever you want to call it. The insert, which doesn't do a whole lot for us, but, it has the art of the commander on it and then tells you a little bit about it. On the other side, they have the special rules of commander, so for some people that's actually helpful. A lot of people buy these precons as ways to start out. The special stuff that came in this was the 10 Plane Chase cards, and then of course the collector's sample pack, which we'll get to in a second. I'll open these up, show you them. I'm not going to read them all off to you, but I will show you them. So, if you want to read them, just pause the video. I will zoom in just a little bit so you can read it. So there is Mutual Epiphany, Orochi Colony, Turi Island, Sukkenzan, I think that's how it's said, Truga Jungle, Litjara itself, Paliano, I think that's how that's said, Innis Hain, the Kaldaya, Onyoro, and that was the last one. So those are the Plane Chase cards. If you guys decide to actually do Plane Chase, I myself don't normally. It's fun once or twice, but, everybody has their thing they like. Alright, the sample pack. Let's open that one up and see what crap I get out of this one, because, again, I never get anything good out of these sample packs. I did get Urtet the other day, and I did put that deck together, so
Alright, let's see what we got. First up is Teferi's Talent, which, not really thrilling to me. Could have been anything, and that was it. And then a foil Jury Master as a review. So, like I said, I don't normally get anything good out of those sample packs. They are just the worst examples of a sample. But we're here for the deck, so let's open it up and I'll show you every one of the cards in there, and then, we'll go from there, and then tomorrow I will be doing an upgrade guide for it. Why do I have a problem opening the cellophane for each one of these decks? Every time. Alright, let's throw the cellophane out. Split the deck in half to make it easier to wield while showing you. Get everything else out of the screen. And let's begin. And then I will zoom in a little more because these are smaller cards. Alright, so I told you what Sidar Jabari does. So we obviously are looking at a Knight deck. In some way, shape, or form anyway. So I believe this would be the second commander that they would suggest. It is Lenda and Azor. So it's 6 to cast, so one of each of the colors from 3. For a 6/6, which is a Vampire Knight Sphinx with flying and ward 2. And then whenever it attacks, you may pay 1 black, 1 blue, 1 white, and X. And if you do, you draw X cards. So there's a card out there that does something similar to that. It's white and blue instead of all 3 colors. And then at the beginning of each end step, you may pay for life. And if you do, you create a number of 1/1 black Vampire Knight creature tokens with lifelink equal to the number of cards that you've drawn this turn. So that's actually not a bad secondary commander. There is something you could build off of that. However, this deck is all about Sidar, so let's go ahead and just go over this deck. So, reprint of Bajuka Bog, Command Tower as always, Commander Sphere. This is a 3-color deck, so it's kind of needed here. Distant Melody lets you choose a creature type and draw a card for each permanent of that type you control. Evolving Wilds. Fractured Power Stone, because this is a plane chase deck, so these are going to be useful. One of the things I wanted to mention is I won't be taking this card out specifically because the plane chase part of it doesn't really work. It's still a 2 to cast mana rock that adds at least a colorless mana to your mana pool that comes into play untapped, so it's actually not bad. I've actually suggested this in upgrade guides in the past. Orzhov's Signet, Path of Ancestry, Read the Bones, so card draw, Smitten Swordmaster. I did a deck that was Knight based that had this in there. It's actually a pretty good card. It does damage for you, and it's really nice for that. Terramorphic Expanse, Thriving Heath, Thriving Isle. So I do these as well for budget lands for making sure that you get the right mana. Thriving Moor, Arcane Sanctum, Arcane Signet, Arvad the Cursed. Is going to be a lot of legendaries in here. Corpse Knight, definitely a must-have for this kind of a deck. Despark, good removal. Felwar Stone. Foulmire Knight, so it's a 1/1 Death Toucher. Lets you draw a card if you play the adventure. Herald's Horn, good card, especially in a tribal deck. This is definitely a tribal or typal, if you will, staple. So that's really good to have in a deck like this. Knight of the Last Breath. I mean, a little expensive to cast, but I get it. Knight of the Black Rose. What's this one? 5 to cast for a 4/4. Says whenever it enters the battlefield, you become the monarch. And then whenever an opponent becomes the monarch, if you were the monarch as that turn began, that player loses 2 life and you gain life. So, kind of I get it, but kind of Mindstone, Myriad Landscape to go and get lands out of your deck so you don't draw them later. Order of Midnight. Path to Exile, really good removal. Especially if you're in white, you're going to need something like that. It's this Exsanguinator Cavalry. It's a 30 cast 2/3 with Menace and Lifelink. It's obviously a Knight because this deck is full of Knights. Whenever a Knight you control deals combat damage to a player, put a +1/+1 counter on that creature and create a blood token. Again, kind of Ichor Elixir, obviously a removal on the upgrade guide because it only deals with plane chase cards, technically. I mean, yeah, it's 4 to cast and it comes into play tapped and lets you tap to add 2, but there are better things out there, so. Herald of Hoofbeats. So it's 4 to cast 3/3 with Horsemanship. Horsemanship, it's a meme ability. I don't understand why people focus so heavy on how good Horsemanship is compared to things like Shadow, which is exactly the same thing. So I don't understand that. And then it says other knights you control have Horsemanship, which is good. It's great to give things evasion that they so sorely need. Basically, it's going to make most of your stuff unblockable because most people don't play with Horsemanship. So that's actually a pretty good card, though. Locktwain Lancer. It's a 5 to cast 5/5 with Menace. Whenever a non-token knight you control deals or dies, each opponent loses 1 life and you draw a card. So it's actually pretty good. 5 to cast is a little high, but for what it does, it's actually an effect that I would do for that mana. Alright, Chivalric Alliance, 2 to cast enchantment. Whenever You attack with 2 or more creatures, draw cards, so that's really good. I like that. It's a good way for white to do card draw. And then you pay 2 and discard a card to create a 2/2 white and blue knight creature token with vigilance. That's actually a decent card. I don't know what the actual monetary value is, but as far as Commander goes, this has value as a good playable card for white. Card draw and creature token making. That's really good. Path of the Enigma is 5 to cast for a sorcery that lets target player draw 4 cards. And it has Will of the Planeswalkers. It says, starting with you, each player votes either for Planeswalk or Chaos. If Planeswalk gets the most votes, you Planeswalk, and if the other one gets the most votes, or the vote is tied, Chaos ensues. So this may be one that comes out because it's all Plane Chase centric. Alright, Voldalian Wave Knight. So 4 to cast for a 3/3. It says whenever you draw a card, you put a +1/+1 counter on each other Merfolk and or Knight you control. That's actually not bad. Actually, I would play that in a Merfolk deck or a Knight deck, so it's a good little quasi-lord. Conjurer's Mantle, so it's a 2 to cast artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 and vigilance, and then it says whenever the equipped creature attacks, you look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal a card that shares a creature type with that creature from among them and put it into your hand and put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order, and it equips for 1. That's actually really good too, especially in white, because we all know that white is very weak on card draw. This is a way, it's not card draw, it puts cards in your hand, which essentially does the same thing, but it gets around things that hurt you if you draw a card, so that's actually really good. And I don't like equipment that much, and I'm saying that. Aethersworn Adjudicator. I actually think I have this in the deck that I play. I actually needed one of these at one time. And oh, you know what? I think I needed this because I want to put it in my Alayla. Hero of Bladehold, that's a good reprint. Vona, Butcher of Magan. So 5 to cast for a 4/4 Vigilance lifelink. You pay 7 life, destroy target non-land permanent, and activate during your turn. This is a reprint, but this is a good reprint. I believe I put this in the Knight deck that I made. Acclaimed Contender, that's a reprint as well, I believe. Adeline Resplendent Cathar is a very good card. It's got Vigilance, it's a star 4 for 3, it's a good stats right off the bat, and then its power is equal to the number of creatures that you control in general, and then whenever you attack for each opponent, you create a 1/1 white human creature token. I've actually used this as a suggestion, as an upgrade for one of the other precons recently, so that's actually really good. Ariel is the card that I made my Knight Commander deck based on, so that's nice. I get one so I can make that again. Choked Estuary, so it's blue-black, dual land of some sort. Exotic Orchard, which is in every deck. Fell the Mighty, board wipe. Hacken, Jasu Ves, Knight Exemplar. Good, that's definitely needed for this deck. Knight of the White Orchid, goes and gets you some land. Knight's Charge, it's a good card for this deck too. Liliana Standard Bearer, I mean, I get it, but yeah, it's kind of iffy. Second half of the deck. Maul of the Skyclaves, it's okay equipment. Midnight Reaper, again, it's kind of but it's a knight, so it makes sense. Murderous Rider is actually one of my favorite knights. So you can destroy something, either a creature or a planeswalker, as an adventure, and then later cast it for 2/3 lifelinker for 3. And then, if it dies, it goes from your graveyard back on the bottom of your library, so if you have shuffle effects, you can get it back later, so it actually can come back, so it's actually pretty good. Painful Truce, it's card draw. Port Town, so we're going to have some budget lands here, some budget dual lands. Prairie Stream, Promise of Loyalty, I don't know, is this a reprint? I'm trying to remember. Looks like a different picture. It's 5 to cast for sorcery. Each player puts a vow counter on a creature that they control and sacrifices the rest. And each of those creatures can't attack you or a planeswalker you control for as long as it has a vow counter on it. I do think that this is a new card for this set. Pull from Tomorrow, that's actually a reprint. Shine Shadow Snarl, so more budget dual lands. Sigiled Sword of Valerian, another reprint for knights, good one. Silverwing Squadron, drawn a blank. I think this is new for this set too. 6 to cast Star, Flying Vigilance, Human Knight. And then its power and toughness are equal to the number of creatures you control, which is always good in a deck that creates a lot of tokens that are knights and has a lot of creatures in it to begin with. And then it says whenever it attacks, create a number of 2/2 white knight creature tokens with vigilance equal to the number of opponents you have. So that's actually not bad. Not as good as, the other one that does the same effect for 3, but it's good. Sunken Hollow, so budget dual land. Temple of Deceit, I hate the temples, but we're going to have all 3 of them, because why wouldn't they? Time Wipe, it's a nice board wipe. Unbreakable Formation, I'm not a fan of cards like this in Commander, but I get it. Valiant Knight, another Knight Lord. I guess they covered all bases. This is actually quite impressive. For them to put this in a precon, I complained that the previous one I did for March of the Machine seemed very weak, so they actually put some really nice cards into this one. Vanquish's Banner, if you don't know, is a 5 to cast artifact that says you can choose a creature type when it enters play, and then those creatures get +1/+1, but whenever you cast a creature spell of that chosen type, you draw a card, which is super important. So that 5 mana value is high, but for what it does, it's absolutely perfect. Good card to add here. Worthy Knight, that's a reprint. Return to Dust, good removal. I was wondering when we were going to get this Soul Ring. And then more removal, that's good. Swords to Plowshares. This actually isn't going to need that many upgrades, now that I think about it. It's not going to be a very long upgrade guide. Sir Eleonora, the Discerning. So I actually think I had this in another deck. So it's a 5 to cast star 4. Its power is equal to the number of cards in your hand, and then when it enters the battlefield, draw a card, and then it has a ward 2 for itself is what this is. It says spells your opponents cast that target it costs 2 more to cast. I think this is, I believe this was actually printed before ward was actually a named ability, but I can't remember if it was, but it's basically ward 2. Ooh, my favorite knight overall is Sir Conrad the Grim. He's still good. This is one of the best cards in recent years that they made at uncommon, and I actually am in the midst of building a commander precon with this as the leader, general, or commander, however you want to say it, and I will have that eventually, coming out. Good card. Temple of the False Gods, they should stop putting that in all precons. Wintermoor Commander, that is a reprint, I believe, as well. Xerix Strobe Knight, 3 to cast 2/2 Flying Vigilance. Says tap it to create a 2/2 white and blue Knight creature token with Vigilance, and you can only activate that if you cast 2 or more spells this turn. That's actually pretty cool. And I think we're going to hit the lands right now. So we're going to have basic plains, basic islands, basic swamps, and then of course we have, this is here as a way so that you don't shuffle it into your library. That's why it's a thicker version of it. It's really thick. Night tokens galore, and in different forms. Blood tokens, just all different forms. What's on the back side of them? Shapeshifters. I didn't see anything that created a changeling shapeshifter, but I could have missed it. Assassin tokens.
And that, my friends, is what was in the Cavalry Charge March of the Machine Commander Precon. In my opinion, this precon, like the Rebellion Rising precon, seems pretty good for someone just starting out. It's got a lot of similarities to the Knight Tribal/Typal deck I made for players to purchase a year or so ago, and that was made with the same purpose of being good for learning with. Just like mine though, this can use a few small upgrades. Thankfully, I do an upgrade guide for each official precon the day after I unbox it, so please be sure to join me tomorrow for that. That's all for now, but if you could, please do the following for me. Give the video a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet, share this out to anyone you think would enjoy it, and visit our sponsor at www.arcane-fortress.com, and remember to use discount code BLUEBEAR for an additional 5% off your order if you decide to purchase anything from them. Any and or all of that would be greatly appreciated. Have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow.